Void darkness parts as a fleet of black-hulled warships tears its way out of the warp. Geller fields gutter and die. Prayer engines fall silent, and cathedral-tall gun decks awaken with a growl of cycling macro-cannons. Banners bearing white crosses snap in the stellar wind, each one a tattered relic of 100 forgotten wars. Drop pods fall like iron comets, their retros screaming as they punch through cloud and fire. Sirens wail, vox nets choke with panicked orders, and in the midst of it all, black-armoured giants advance through smoke and ruin, their boots ringing on shattered rockcrete, their armor draped in parchment litanies and purity seals that flutter like torn scripture in the furnace heat of battle. Chains bite into ceramite where warriors have bound their weapons to their gauntlets, a visible promise that they will not release their blade while life remains in their gene-forged flesh. Chaplains stride amongst them, Crozius raised, vox-grilles vomiting litanies of hate and devotion. Enemy soldiers fire in blind terror, watching their rounds spark off adamantine plate, knowing, even before the first chainsword bites home, that they are not facing soldiers, but executioners. Imperial priests fall to their knees, seeing in these warriors the living proof of the Emperor's wrath. Commanders speak in hushed tones of crusades older than their own bloodlines. Civilians, if any survive, whisper prayers that are half gratitude, half dread, because the coming of these space marines means salvation for the Imperium, but never mercy for its enemies. They are the Black Templars, a crusading chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, relentless, fanatical warrior monks who have turned war itself into an unending act of worship in the Emperor's name. Their story begins in the Age of Treachery. During the Horus Heresy, when half the legions turned upon Terra, the 7th Legion, the Imperial Fists, stood upon the walls of the Imperial Palace. Among them was Sigismund, first captain of the Legion, a warrior whose faith in the Emperor was as absolute as his skill with the blade. On the blood-slicked battlements, Sigismund was chosen as the Emperor's champion, a living weapon set against the mightiest champions of chaos. Where others saw only war, he saw trial and judgment. Every duel fought, every traitor slain, was to him a sacrament of loyalty. When the traitors were broken and the heresy ended, peace did not follow. The Imperium turned inward, fearful of any who wielded too much power. Robert Guilliman's Codex Astartes decreed that the great legions be broken into smaller chapters, lest any commander again lead a host vast enough to threaten the throne. The Imperial Fists resisted, and in the brutal ordeal known as the Iron Cage, they nearly destroyed themselves, proving their obedience. In the aftermath, Rogel Dawn agreed to the second founding. It was then that Sigismund was raised up as the first High Marshal of a new chapter born from the blood of the Imperial Fists. Dawn gave him a mighty flagship, the Eternal Crusader, and authority over warriors who shared his absolute, burning faith. Sigismund accepted command with a vow that would define 10,000 years. He swore that his chapter would never know peace, never settle, never stand idle, while a single foe of mankind still drew breath. Where other chapters would watch over a homeworld, he would give his sons the stars themselves as their battlefield. the Black Templars would become an Eternal Crusade, a brotherhood whose entire existence was one long war to prove their loyalty to the Emperor and drown the memory of rebellion in enemy blood. Under Sigismund's command, the First Crusades carved bloody paths through renegade worlds and Xeno's enclaves, their banners becoming a promise. Wherever the Imperium was threatened, these warriors would come, and they would not cease until the last idol of the enemy had been cast down. Over the millennia, that vow hardened from an oath into identity. To be a Black Templar is not simply to don armor and bear a bolter. It is to accept that there will be no garrison duty, no quiet guardianship of a single world, no retirement. They do not speak of campaigns as discrete events, but of crusades, arcs of holy war that may last decades or centuries. Administratum scribes might declare a war zone pacified and close the file. To the Black Templars, nothing is finished while heresy still festers anywhere nearby. Their chronicles read less like military records and more like an endless litany of purgations. Faith is the iron core of this relentless march. Among the Black Templars, the Emperor is not a distant, entombed sovereign. He is a living god, and war is his holiest language. Every battle is a ritual, every charge a prayer. They carve scripture into their armor, etch vows into their weapons, and brand oaths into their own flesh. To die in battle while reciting the litanies of hate is the closest they can come to touching the divine. In their eyes, the galaxy is not a collection of star systems and supply routes. It is a vast, stained altar that must be washed clean in the blood of the faithless. This burning zeal sits uneasily alongside the measured discipline of the Codex Astartes. In theory, the Black Templars acknowledge the Codex. In practice, they bend or ignore it whenever zeal demands. They do not adhere to the strict 1,000-warrior limit, for their forces are spread across many crusade fleets whose total strength is known only to the High Marshal and his inner circle. Imperial savants whisper that the Black Templars may number several times the prescribed size of a chapter, citing the sheer volume of crusades and the number of warships that bear their sigil. The Black Templars do not clarify. Ambiguity is a shield. So long as the enemies of mankind cannot guess how many Templars might answer a call to war, their fear remains useful. Their defiance of the Codex is doctrinal as well as numerical. Where most chapters maintain librarians to guide them through the dangers of the warp, the Black Templars refuse to harbor such psychers in their own ranks. To them, all psychic power is a doorway through which demons may enter. The scars of the heresy, the memory of sorcerer kings and witch lords, have left them utterly uncompromising. In place of librarians, they keep the scriptorum of truths aboard their flagship, an archive of creed and history watched over by wardens, while psychic lore that strays too close to heresy is purged in ritual flame. They work alongside navigators and astropaths out of necessity, but their distrust never wavers. One of the chapter's most sacred vows is simple and absolute. Abhor the witch. Destroy the witch. To behold a Black Templar in full war panoply is to see that their faith is written on their bodies as well as in their hearts. Their power armor is a stark contrast of black and white. Sable plate broken by white shoulder pauldrons, marked with the 8-pointed Templar cross, a symbol of oath and crusade. Helmets are often bare of ornament, save for purity seals and devotional script wrapping the brow, a reminder that the warrior's thoughts are bound in service. Chains crisscross breastplates and vambraces, securing weapons, reliquaries, and fragments of bone or parchment. A warrior may literally chain his sword to his gauntlet before battle, a visible pledge that he will not relinquish his blade while life remains. Rank and role are expressed through variations on this Crusader theme. Neophytes, the chapter's aspirants, wear less ornate armor and often fight bareheaded to learn fearlessness beneath the watchful eyes of their betters. Their heraldry is simpler, their crosses smaller, their purity seals fewer. Each scrap of parchment they earn marks a completed trial or act of zeal. Full initiates display larger, more elaborate Templar crosses and more extensive oath scripts, the record of years spent in war. Sword Brethren, the chapter's veteran elite, are cloaked in tabards and surcoats bearing the cross, their armor enhanced with artificer-forged details, their helmets sculpted into grim visages of skulls and Crusader helms. Chaplains, the spiritual core of the chapter, fight in black even deeper than their brethrens, their skull-faced helmets and Crozius Arcanum symbols of uncompromising judgment. Even specialists, such as tech marines or apothecaries, are subsumed into this aesthetic. Red armor and white helms overlaid with the cross, cog and skull motifs draped with parchment and rosaries. At the heart of this warrior monastic order sails a vessel that is more cathedral than ship. The Eternal Crusader, a vast Gloriana-class battle barge, is the largest of the chapter's warships and serves as its spiritual and strategic center. Its flanks are studded with gun decks and hangar bays, its void sails etched with scripture, its spine a line of towers and bastions that once flew the banners of Rogel Dawn and now bear Sigismund's sigil. Within its armored hull lie reliquary vaults and endless chapels, each dedicated to saints and heroes known only to the chapter. The Temple of Dawn houses relics of the Imperial Fist's Primarch and of Sigismund himself, fragments of armor, shattered blades, banners stained with traitor blood. The Scriptorum of Truths occupies entire decks, a library of creed and history that could consume a mortal lifetime to read. To walk its nave-like corridors is to walk a moving fortress monastery, hurtling through the void. Unlike many chapters, the Black Templars do not bind themselves to a single homeworld. They are fully fleet-based, their strength distributed across a constellation of crusade fleets and lesser vessels, each a traveling fortress filled with chapels, training decks, armories, and reliquaries. Across the galaxy, they maintain fortress chapels and chapter keeps on shrine worlds, fortress hives, and strategically vital planets. These bastions might house a small garrison or lie dormant for decades until a crusade fleet returns to resupply or recruit. Yet all of these holdings, no matter how imposing, are subordinate to the needs of the Crusades. No planet may chain the Black Templars to static defense. Their home is the void, and the trail of wars they leave behind them. The chapter's internal organization reflects this roaming nature. At its head stands the High Marshal, successor to Sigismund and supreme commander of all crusades. In the current age, that mantle rests upon High Marshal Helbrecht, a scarred veteran defined by long wars against orcs, heretics, and ancient Xenos. The High Marshal decrees which heresies are to be burned out first, which alien empires must be shattered, which worlds must be succored by the sword. Beneath him, marshals command individual crusade fleets, each crusade its own small empire of warships, strike cruisers, and escort craft, with its own collection of relics and battle honors. Castellans serve as sub-commanders and fortress lords, leading task forces or holding key strongpoints in the High Marshal's name. Chaplains advise and admonish at every level, ensuring that no order, however expedient, violates the chapter's creed. Because each crusade fleet is a self-contained war host, its exact strength constantly shifts as casualties mount, reinforcements arrive, and new vows are sworn. Some crusades may field only a few hundred warriors, suited to strike at isolated heresies or to attach themselves to larger imperial war efforts. Others may swell to thousands of Astartes, surrounded by flotillas of escort vessels, pilgrim ships, and attached guard regiments, forming armadas that can topple sectors. Across all these crusades, the total number of Black Templars remains deliberately obscure. Administratum records list only estimates. Inquisitorial dossiers speak vaguely of significant deviation from Codex norms. To the Black Templars, such bookkeeping is meaningless. They do not tally their worth in bodies, but in the number of enemies cast down. Recruitment into this brotherhood is as harsh as the life it promises. The Black Templars draw aspirants from worlds already tempered by war and scarcity. Death worlds where only the brutal survive, hive cities ruled by gang violence, shrine worlds steeped in fervent faith. When a crusade makes planetfall, it may demand tithes of flesh as well as grain and steel. Young men who show strength, courage, or fanatical devotion are gathered and tested. Some are chosen because they fought the Templars' foes with sticks and stones when all hope was lost. Others because they stood unflinching under the gaze of a chaplain's skull helm. Many die before gene seed implantation is even offered, broken in trials of endurance, combat, and obedience that strip away fear and self-pity alike. Those who endure become neophytes, yet their ordeal has only begun. In the Black Templars, raw recruits are not placed in separate scout formations. Each neophyte is bound to a full battle brother, an initiate who becomes his mentor, taskmaster, and living example. The neophyte serves as squire and apprentice, attending to his master's war gear, accompanying him into battle, and sharing his penances. On the field, neophytes fight in the front ranks, bolter or shotgun in hand, often less armored, but no less exposed. Their masters watch them closely, measuring their fear, their zeal, their willingness to obey orders that mean near certain death. Between battles, initiates teach their charges the chapter's catechisms, the litanies of hate, and the long history of the Eternal Crusade. By the time a neophyte is judged worthy to become a full initiate, little remains of the youth he once was. His old name is forgotten, his homeworld a minor entry in the chapter's annals. In its place stands a new identity, forged in pain and devotion. He becomes one more link in the chain that runs unbroken from Sigismund to the present day, a sworn blade of the Emperor whose life is no longer his own. Promotion is marked by new armor, new oaths, and sometimes by the ritual chaining of a weapon to his gauntlet, a symbol that he has earned the right to bear that blade in the chapter's name. From that moment, he is expected not merely to obey, but to exemplify the Templar ideal to his own assigned neophytes. The Black Templars' warfare reflects their creed. They are not a chapter of patient sieges or distant bombardments, although they can prosecute such campaigns when necessity demands. Their preference is always to close with the foe, to feel the shock of impact and the spray of blood, to hear the breaking of alien bone and the splintering of heretic plate. Boarding actions are especially beloved. Thunderhawks and boarding torpedoes slamming into enemy hulls, hatches blown apart in white fire, and then Templars surging through corridors like a black tide, bolters roaring, and chainswords chewing through flesh and steel alike. On the ground, they favor rapid, decisive assaults. Land Raider Crusaders delivering squads into the heart of the enemy line. Rhino-born warriors spilling out in coordinated charges. Bikers and assault troops racing ahead to smash apart flanks and artillery. Central to this doctrine are Crusader squads, mixed formations of initiates and neophytes that embody the chapter's belief in shared trial. A Crusader squad may contain hardened veterans bearing power weapons and storm shields, alongside neophytes armed with simple bolters or blades. Special weapons such as flamers and melta-guns are interspersed as needed, but the heart of the squad is always its will to charge. Unlike Codex standard tactical squads, Crusader squads are not designed for cautious, flexible firefights. They are engines of righteous aggression, equally capable of holding a breach with storms of bolter fire or surging forward in a howling melee. Where other chapters might hang back, trading shots and adjusting their lines, the Black Templars throw their Crusader squads into the thickest fighting to prove their faith in the Emperor's protection. The chapter's battlefield leadership mirrors this ethos of leading from the front. Marshals and castellans often fight at the head of their chosen squads, not as distant commanders, but as exemplars of zeal. Sword brethren form personal retinues whose purpose is not only to protect their leaders, but to amplify their fury, turning command units into spearheads that can tear out the heart of an enemy army in a single, devastating strike. Chaplains stalk the lines before and during battle, intoning the great oaths and vows, their Crozius Arcanum rising and falling in rhythm with their sermons. When a chaplain's voice swells over the vox, entire formations of Templars may hurl themselves forward with renewed fervor, heedless of casualty projections that would make more pragmatic commanders blanch. Among all these roles, none is as iconic as the Emperor's champion. On the eve of certain battles, one warrior among the Black Templars may be seized by visions, blazing images of the Emperor, of broken swords, of mighty foes awaiting judgment. Chaplains watch closely for such signs, testing the afflicted warrior for any hint of corruption. When they are satisfied that the vision is divine, the chosen brother is armed and armored in a unique panoply: black plate marked with sacred symbols, a tabard bearing the cross, and a great blade known as the Black Sword. From that moment, he is no longer simply a Templar. He is the Emperor's champion, a living relic whose sole purpose in the coming battle is to seek out the enemy's strongest leader or champion and cut them down in single combat. The champion's presence reshapes the battlefield, for squads will willingly die to clear a path for him to reach his prey, and commanders will adjust their strategies around his destined duel. Before battle begins, the Black Templars swear one of their great vows, a chapter-wide oath that informs the conduct of every warrior. Suffer not the unclean to live drives them to relentless aggression against the impure, pushing them to hurl themselves at the most corrupted foes regardless of the odds. Uphold the honor of the emperor demands stoic endurance, bidding them to scorn cowardice, endure incoming fire, and advance with unshaken resolve. Abhor the witch, destroy the witch directs their hatred squarely at enemy psykers, who become priority targets no matter how well protected they are. Accept any challenge, no matter the odds, encapsulates their entire creed, commanding them to fling themselves at impossible tasks simply because they are impossible. Each vow has tactical consequences, but to the Templars, those are secondary. What matters is that the vow binds their souls to a particular expression of faith. To break it is unthinkable. Relics serve as the physical anchors of this spiritual ferocity. The Black Templars fight surrounded by memories made manifest. Ancient swords, some dating back to the Great Crusade, hang in stasis fields or rest on velvet-lined altars between wars. The personal blade of Sigismund has long since passed into legend, but its memory lives in every black sword borne by an emperor's champion, each one crafted as a reflection of that first weapon's righteous purpose. Armor sets so old that their original artificers' names are forgotten still march to war, their plates layered with engraved oaths and scenes of past crusades picked out in gold. Battle banners trail incense and sigils, every hole and burn mark a story. Cenobite servitors trudge alongside the warriors, bearing reliquary shrines on their backs, fragments of saints' bones, shards of damaged armor worn by heroes, pieces of ruined icons salvaged from worlds swept clean of heresy. These relics are not decoration. To a Black Templar, to fight within sight of a sacred banner or a reliquary is to be reminded that he is part of something vast, a chain of faith and battle stretching back 10,000 years. Chaplains recount the stories of each relic before battle, promising that to falter in the relic's presence is to dishonor not only the living, but the dead whose memory it carries. When a relic is lost, entire crusades may be redirected to recover it, regardless of the strategic cost. In this way, the chapter's war-making is shaped as much by the need to preserve its spiritual identity as by the demands of imperial strategy. The history of the Black Templars is written in the lives of their heroes as much as in their campaigns. Sigismund himself remains the greatest exemplar. After leading the first great crusades, he met his end at the dawn of the Black Legion's rise, dueling Abaddon the Despoiler amidst the wreckage of worlds. Sigismund was slain, but not before inflicting wounds that even a war master of chaos could not easily dismiss. His death was not seen by the Templars as a defeat, but as the perfect fulfillment of his vow, to seek the greatest enemy and face him head-on, blade to blade, in the Emperor's name. Every High Marshal since has been measured against that standard. In the present age, High Marshal Helbrecht stands as Sigismund's heir. He has led crusades against countless foes, but is particularly famed for his wars against the orcs. Brutal campaigns in which greenskin empires have been broken, chain by chain, warlord by warlord. During the Third War for Armageddon, Helbrecht commanded not only Black Templar crusades, but the combined fleet of many chapters, fighting in the void above that embattled world, while his warriors bled and died in its hives. Below, one of his most renowned chaplains, Grimaldus, held the hive city of Helsreach in a defense that passed into legend, standing amid fire and ruin as orcs crashed against the walls like a green tide. When Helsreach finally fell, Grimaldus walked from the ashes with relics of the city's shrines carried by his Cenobite servitors, a grim testament that even in apparent defeat, the faith of the Templars does not break. The coming of the Great Rift and the launch of the Indomitus Crusade did not tame the Black Templars, it simply widened their hunting grounds. Some crusade fleets found themselves stranded in Imperium Nihilus, cut off from Terra and the wider war machine. These did not despair. They waged their own private wars amid the madness of the darkened half of the galaxy, holding bastions of light where they could, and burning heretic worlds where they must. Other crusade fleets joined Guilliman's Indomitus Crusade, fighting alongside Primaris Grey Shields and many other chapters in vast, coordinated offensives. The Lord Commander of the Imperium, recognizing both the danger and the value of Black Templar zeal, parleyed with Helbrecht and offered reinforcements in the form of Primaris Space Marines, crafted from Imperial Fist's gene stock. The chapter's reaction to these Primaris reinforcements was wary, but ultimately pragmatic. Some among the Templars viewed the tall, newly forged warriors with suspicion, questioning their origins and the meddling of arch-technocrats in what had once been a semi-sacred process. Others saw in the Primaris an opportunity. More blades for the Crusades, more bodies to throw into the fire in the Emperor's name. Helbrecht, after initial reluctance, accepted them into the chapter and even promoted some veterans to lead crusades composed largely of former Grey Shields. As always, acceptance was conditional on faith. Primaris neophytes and initiates alike were tested with the same harsh trials, the same vows, the same expectation of total devotion. Those who faltered were not spared because they were newly wrought. If anything, more was demanded of them, that they prove themselves worthy to stand beside brothers who had fought through centuries of war. In the current era, with the galaxy split and threats multiplying beyond count, the Black Templars remain what they have always been, a storm that never ends. Crusade fleets burn through the void toward systems screaming for aid, or toward silent regions where augur ghosts whisper of gathering heresy. Some crusades focus on hunting specific foes, such as the Necrons rising from their tomb worlds, or the servants of newly awakened demon princes. Others wander more widely, drawn by omens, visions, or the interpretations of ancient prophecy by the chapter's chaplains and masters of scripture. Wherever they go, they bring the same message, spoken not in words but in bolter fire and blade. The Emperor's law is absolute, and any who defy it will be broken. In the end, the essence of the Black Templars is simple and terrible. They are a warrior brotherhood that has turned war into pilgrimage, Each battle is a station on a journey with no terminus. Each slain heretic a bead on an endless rosary of purgation. They are feared because they will not stop, revered because they will stand where others break, distrusted because their loyalty is not to bureaucrats or edicts, but to an idea of the emperor so absolute that it devours compromise. When a world calls for aid and a Black Templar fleet answers, its people can expect salvation in the most brutal sense. The foe will die, but so too will any whose faith is found wanting. Once more, picture the opening scene, for it is also the closing one. Crusade fleets emerging from the warp, their hulls inscribed with the names of 1,000 campaigns. Drop pods hammering down through the atmosphere, black-armoured warriors marching through fire beneath stark white crosses, chains binding their weapons to their hands. Chaplains chant litanies through snarling vox-grilles. Neophytes run at their heels. Banners snap in the storm. Above it all, on a command deck hung with relics and lit by the cold glow of tactical hololiths, a High Marshal intones the words that have defined the chapter since Sigismund knelt before Dorn. A vow of unending war. For as long as a single Black Templar draws breath, there will be no pity, no remorse, no fear. And until the last crusade ends, they will stride through the galaxy as the Emperor's black-armoured